Today on the Relationship Renovation podcast, we give you the 5 biggest mistakes that couples make in their relationship.
We don't develop skills to have difficult conversations, which then leads to a lot of avoidance, disconnection. Really hard one, it's the unresolved conflicts, the holding grudges.
We go through all of them, we talk about the mistake, and then we talk about ways in which you can make that change.
The fix is really open, honest communication.
We need some help, we need a course, we need the right therapist or coach.
When you're constantly doing that, you're changing and growing individually and as a couple, and you're embracing change as a couple. That's the fix. Hello, all, and welcome to the Relationship Renovation podcast. I'm Tarah Kerwin.
And my name is EJ Kerwin.
And we love today's episode. I feel like a lot of people are going to listen to it because it's the 5 biggest mistakes that we make in our relationships. We're going to help you understand them and how to not necessarily fix them, but get through them and have some solutions for healing so that you can have the relationship that you deserve, which is amazingness. Yeah. We all deserve that.
And I like this episode. I like the 5 biggest mistakes because they're very like common things.
Yeah.
They're not like these like huge iceberg boat sinking things, but they're really important things. They're important things that if you're not aware of them, they will cause the big problems.
Yeah.
And so by us like really throwing them out there for you today, I think you're gonna have some action points, some things to work on together.
Okay, so today you are going to learn about mistake number 1, lack of communication and emotional avoidance. We all do it at some point.
And number 2 is taking each other for granted.
We all do that one too.
Happens. That happens frequently.
Mistake number 3, unresolved conflict, holding resentment or those grudges. So when we have unresolved conflict, no bueno.
The 4th most common or biggest mistake in relationship, this is a big one. We talk about it a lot. It is neglecting intimacy, neglecting the connection between you and your partner.
And the 5th one, which I love that this is kind of like wrapping it all up, but not growing together through many different life stages and transitions. So those are the 5 you're going to learn. And as we talked about them in my body, I was like, we've been through all of those, but This is why we're here. This is why we developed what we have developed, because my goodness, there are solutions.
Yeah.
And we're going to help you get into those solutions right now.
Well, and I think the thing is as you'll notice as you go through these 5, is you'll also realize that these are things that you're kind of always working on. They're not things that we got that solved, check.
Yeah.
These are mistakes that you can continually make, or you can kind of work on them for a while and then forget about it for 6 months.
But you have more awareness to them, right? So let's just jump right into that first one, which is probably the number 1 presenting issues that couples come in to therapy for, which is that lack of communication, emotional avoidance. So now there's disconnection. EJ, why is this a problem?
Well, I mean, because at the base level, you and your partner are going through life together, right? Like you are accomplishing things, you guys are dealing with stuff from day to day, you're raising a family, you're having jobs, you're doing all this stuff. And if you guys aren't communicating, if there's not solid communication, if you're avoiding your own emotions, like it just makes it harder to just solve problems and live sort of in harmony with one another.
And with this mistake, what we have found is that there's a lot of assumptions that our partners should just know what we need. So why should we have to talk about it? There should just be this intuitive sense. So then what happens is we don't develop skills to have difficult conversations, which then leads to a lot of avoidance, disconnection. So that's why it's a problem, right? You can't have these assumptions or these expectations that your partner will just know what you need, because that's not going to happen. And, the fix is really open, honest communication. Like if there's something I'm needing, I have to be like, EJ, this is really important today. And I'm just going to share like a personal story because I messed this up. When we first had children and EJ had 2 kids before me, I assumed like he just knew what to do, like with everything, whether it was prioritizing a relationship, knowing how to take care of the twins, like I just had these expectations of him that I never told him I did. And when he kept disappointing me, again, never told him, I was like, who is this person? Like, he's nothing that I thought. And again, that was on me because I did not talk about it. I just assumed. And so that created a very big mistake right after a huge transition in our life. Again, it led to where we're at now, thankfully, but it really did create that emotional avoidance and that disconnection. So open, honest communication is the fix to part of this.
Yeah. And I think another big dynamic, I was just talking with a client about it yesterday, is that people sort of take in their own old problem solving, and there's a lot of that like avoidant versus anxious or independence versus interdependence. And a lot of times the lack of communication can also come out of just sort of solving problems in different ways. And so like a person who's very independent is like, I don't even need to talk about this, or it'll just be a problem. And so they sort of solve their problems independently. They don't communicate it. And then their partner ends up on the other side kind of being like, what the heck is going on? You're making decisions without me. You're not sharing what's going on.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to what Tarah says, is we have to like really make almost a daily effort to like, I'm just going to open up. I'm going to talk to my partner. I'm going to let them know what's going on for me emotionally. I'm going to let them know just what's going on with me life-wise. We have check-ins.
Yes.
I mean, check-ins is a big solution, is that you have sort of a bookend on every day of like, hey, how are you doing this morning? What's going on for you? Hey, how was the day? How did you go through? How connected are we? It's just setting up like patterns of consistent communication with your partner, because it builds confidence and it builds connection.
And one thing I'm hoping before we move on to mistake number 2 is that healthy communication, especially around difficult things, takes skills, and it's okay to learn them. You have to actually learn them. And we try to, whether it's our in-office or our at-home program, like the daily check-ins are one of the first things we do, because it creates a space where you're at least having that time to check in. You're having your I statements. Those are always really important, right? And then the validation piece, like, wow, I hear that like this morning is really hard for you already. Like you woke up feeling anxious. Is there anything I can do to support you? You're just setting yourself up for success in every way and not disappointment, right? Because when we're not having those assumptions, expectations, we're going to have freedom in our relationship. Just know skills are important and we have to learn them. We are not born with them.
Yeah, skills, and it takes practice. And that's why doing things like our at-home program really helps, because it gives couples content to have these conversations with consistently, that then they trip, they mess up, they learn something new about their communication, they move forward. It's a combination of like of having skills and practicing them over and over.
And knowing that it's okay when you mess it up, because you will, especially if you're just starting this, to just repair quickly. Hey, we're just starting it. It feels really clunky, right? That's just another part of really trying to move through, emotional avoidance or difficult conversations.
I've done my share of messing it up for sure.
Yeah. I've done my share of repairing quickly, I think. All right, let's go into mistake number 2, which is taking each other for granted.
Well, I mean, we want to be appreciated. It comes down to that, like, that idea of like appreciation is the fuel that makes the car go. It makes relationship work. And when we just are sort of like, just taking our partner for granted, just like when they do something kind, they do something nice, or just merely they're in our lives. I mean, for me, that was a big thing of really just appreciating wherever you are right now, whatever is going on, that I really try to work towards just appreciating the fact that I have you in my life right now, good or difficult. And that, I think that changes the tone of the relationship.
Yes, but a lot of people, right? That intentionality is really important, and we'll get there. But just know that like the longer we're with someone, this is very normal. We get habituated to the person. We get really used to them. Their annoyances start outweighing all of the positive qualities we see that in them. So we take each other for granted. I don't think it's on purpose. I
No,
just think it's very right. It's just routine now. And
it's
so,
brain science, really. It's like that
yeah.
new car thing. It's like, man, when I first got my truck, that thing, I loved it. And I just, took perfect care of it. And then as time goes on, you're like, oh, look at those GMCs, man. They got those giant grills and they're like,
Why did EJ pick the black one? I
yeah.
like a blue. No. But again, so we take each other for granted. We're going to normalize it. It's brain science too. But there are so many ways to shift it. Again, it's that daily gratitude. Like right now, I'm so happy that I'm breathing, that I'm with this person next to me, breathing. We're healthy, hopefully. We have a loving family, right? Thank you so much, EJ, for making my smoothie this morning and blending it really good so I didn't have the chunks of blueberries.
I knew after you told me,
Like,
what are these chunks of my blueberry?
but like little things like that, you're cultivating gratitude, you're expressing appreciation daily, even for the little things. Another big thing, again, we see a lot of couples in our practice. And when we're talking about how do you guys appreciate each other, they're like, what? Like, I appreciate that they're a good mother. It's like, oh, you have to like have the little moments count. And it's really important to know that when couples start taking each other for granted, they don't have date nights anymore. They stop dating each other. So another important aspect of this is like keep dating each other, even if it's just like once a month. You're making sure that you're setting time just for the two of you to do something adventurous, even if it's watching like a crazy movie. I don't know, locking all the kids away in another room, but you just keep dating each other. That's another fix to this mistake.
Yeah. I think another reason that's like so important not to take your partner for granted is that inevitably there are so many things that your partner does that contribute to your life being better. And if you don't appreciate it, if you take them for granted, they kind of like stop wanting to do them, And so the more I can pay attention to the things that Tarah does that really like improve my life and are really worthy of appreciation, the higher likelihood, one, she's just going to keep doing them, but also like that she's going to do them without resentment, right? Because like, if there's something that she does, like, she's like really on top of stuff with the kids, like, making sure that they have their hot lunches bought for the month and all of those things. And if I recognize it and I'm like, Tarah, like, thank you so much for taking care of that, because I know it's a pain in the butt, but you're
Yeah.
so on it. They always have those lunches. Then there's less likelihood that she's going to get resentful and that she's like doing it and be like, I can't believe I got to do this again. Like nobody gives a shit about anything I do. Like, it's so important just to recognize the little things our partners do that just make our life roll.
And here's a really good exercise for anyone listening right now. This just kind of came to me. Think about yesterday or even this morning. Are you more apt to verbalize and identify what your partner's doing wrong or the annoying things? Or do you have more of the appreciation? Like, oh, hey, honey, I know you were really trying hard to do that. I'm so sorry you like burnt that entire pizza, which I did yesterday. So I just think about that right now. Like, what's more, is there a balance or what do you, And if it's, wow, I'm way more pointing out my annoyances, my grievances, that's okay, but it's not helping. We want to be seen and appreciated. And when our partners feel seen and appreciated, man, that feels really good. And now we're going to have that quality time. And like, even the novelty in relationships, we can create newness together. Have that, go for walks, just so many ways you can shift the dynamic. And it's not to say still don't be annoyed with your partner, because you're going to be, but try to have the appreciation outbalance the annoyances.
100%.
Okay.
And it takes intentional action because our brain is not set up that way. We're set up to define what we don't like, what is uncomfortable, and focus on that. So a big part, before we move on, of taking each other for granted is focusing on what your partner does that is really wonderful, that makes your life better.
I'm going to do a little example. Today, EJ, you made me my little green smoothie without ice, because ice
I've
noise.
been refining her like smoothie
But
because
wait, hang on, hold on. I just want to say,
yeah.
I really appreciate that you didn't put ice in my little green smoothie today. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Does that make you feel good?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we can't role model that. That sounds awful. I appreciated you and it did not feel good.
No, it did feel good. It did feel good.
It doesn't feel like it felt good.
Well, okay. So but you were appreciating what I didn't do, not what I did do.
I appreciated that you didn't put ice in my drink because I had made the request for no ice, that you listened to me.
Oh, okay. There you go. Like you listened.
Okay, do you see? I hope you actually use this part.
Yes.
Editors.
No, it's good.
Because at first I tried to do it. You took it in a wrong way. I was like, what?
Well, I didn't take it in a wrong way. I took it in a way.
Right. And I was like, well, that freaking failed. Know that this happens. And so then I tried to clarify that I was actually appreciating that you listened to me, that I didn't want ice in my green
And we stuck with it. That's the other thing that kind of is.
This was so spontaneous. I promise this was not.
No, but that is an important thing also in communicating and in taking each other for granted and offering appreciation is like you have to like sort of be open to it being a process. And you might express it to your partner in a way that you think is going to be like lovely. And they might it might not land.
I know.
Right.
I was getting a little defensive. Like, what the freak just happened? Okay, moving on.
All right. So we're moving on.
Mistake
again,
number,
taking each other for granted, which then related back between the two of us and communicating in really open ways. But we're
really
going to
modeling
mistake
clunky.
number 3.
Which is a really hard one. It's the unresolved conflicts, the holding grudges. And I will just say this. So in our practice, right, we have all of our couples go through a timeline of their relationship. And it's really interesting how a couple could be together for 20 years and maybe something in the first year happened. And for 20 years, this partner has been holding on to this and like holding it as a grudge. And the other person had zero clue. So just know you're not alone if this is something you do. Why is it a problem? Because avoidance leads to passive aggressive behaviors in relationships. We see it every day. We see it within our relationship, but it's much better, right? But when we hold on to past mistakes, it creates a toxic cycle, which then creates a very repetitive pattern, which then creates a lot of hopelessness for couples.
I mean, I like to think of this as unresolved conflicts are like when your kid has like a wet towel and throws it underneath the bed. And at first it's no big deal. It's just like a wet towel under the bed, right? And you don't even see it.
Is it a wet towel in a human environment or is it a wet towel in a dry environment? Okay,
and then it starts to smell, and it gets worse. And the longer you leave it there and the longer you don't deal with it, the grosser it gets, right? And that's what happens with these unresolved conflicts is like, if we don't talk about it, if there's something that happens between Tarah and I that hurts my feelings, especially if it's like a repetitive thing and I don't address it and I don't like let her know like, hey, I got to let you know there's this thing. It's just gonna fester in me, right? And it's almost counterintuitive because it might actually lead to a conflict, right? It might lead to me saying it and her being like, I can't believe you didn't tell me that, or I just did this.
Which is why a lot of people don't go there, but now you don't have the ability to develop emotional safety, which it's probably out of all the episodes we've done, emotional safety is constantly throughout all of them, right? Being able to effectively, in a healthy way, have resolved conflicts means you get to build emotional safety. If you have all these unresolved conflicts, sweeping things under the rug, whatever it is, you don't even get the chance to build emotional safety. So you don't even know what it feels like. And then you think, okay, this relationship isn't right for me, so I'm just going to move on to the next one. Guess what? Things deteriorate. And you don't know what emotional safety feel like. So it's like the same thing. How could I be with someone that's so different, yet the same things are happening? So it's so important to build the skills again, to have healthy conflict resolution. And it is skill building. And it's building tolerance that we can handle difficult feelings, difficult situations, difficult topics.
And it's counterintuitive, especially to the avoidant partner, that actually having a conflict and maybe it going wrong and maybe you not being your best self is actually going to build confidence in your relationship, because the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
You recognize the ways you could have done it better, your partner could have done it better. And then all of a sudden, a couple months down the road, you start dealing with a conflict in a really effective way, in a loving way, in a caring way. And it doesn't last as long and it's not as intense. And you're like, oh my gosh, like we can actually deal with this. And we totally experience this now. We still have very difficult moments, but there's something different. We bounce back quicker. We get a little less reactive. It's like really wonderful because it makes me feel like it's safe. I can bring up something that I know might upset Tarah and we're going to make it through it. It makes me less avoidant.
So then the fix to mistake number 3, or getting through unresolved conflicts, holding grudges, is I think number 1, both acknowledging like, yeah, this is something that we do. We've swept some stuff under the rug, and that you both kind of have this agreement that we're on the same team here, a mindset, and how can we start to plan to have more healthy conflict resolution, right? And there's so many great books out there, so many podcasts we've had around how to have difficult conversations. We've modeled, we've had our own arguments on here where we've had to like model staying with difficult moments, But I think it's the first thing is just acknowledging it together. Hey, we're on the same team and we want to move through past resentments because we know this doesn't feel good for either of us. And we want to do it differently now.
And this really relates back to the whole building the skills that Tarah talked earlier about, like in our at-home program, when you go through the communication modules and you talk about like, hey, this is healthy communication, like reflecting, like I statements, like all these ways in which, because then when you're in the conflict and you're saying, okay, we're going to try to deal with our issues closer to when they really happen. And I'm going to try this time where I'm really going to listen to Tarah. And every time she tells me something, even if I disagree, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just like repeat it back to her and just make sure I really heard what she said and that she knows I'm not editorializing, that I'm not adding my perspective, right? So it's choosing to deal with conflict and then using tools to deal with it better.
And just if you need references, we have so many episodes on conflict resolution. You can just type in conflict resolution like in the podcast, I think, or if you need an episode, please send us an email and we will give you episodes. We have like over 200 and something and a lot of those are conflict resolution.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to number 4.
All right, so moving into mistake number 4, it's a big one. So many people do it, especially during stressful transitions, but it's neglecting intimacy and connection. I'm definitely guilty of it. Why is it a problem?
I mean, from my perspective, it's a problem because our intimate connection is the one thing unique about our relationship to every other relationship I have.
Yeah.
And it's sort of what makes it sparkle. There's something that it's the most vulnerable. It's really what we want, I think, in relationship. And so then when we neglect that one thing that's supposed to be special about our relationship, that's when it's that whole, like, I feel like I'm moving with a roommate. And that's where it's like, you just sort of become these two ships that are in a big ocean.
Yeah.
And you're in the same ocean, but you're not connected anymore.
It's like I feel like our lives get really busy and we prioritize so many other things, making sure everything gets done. So the last thing that becomes a priority is our quality time together or intimate connection together. And you're right, emotional intimacy goes along with physical intimacy. We did a 4-part series. Those are episodes 199 through episodes 202. Please listen to them because they're very intertwined. But when we deprioritize that because of our busy lives, because of lack of intentionality, so many ways why we do it, it really feels like you're invisible.
Yeah.
Like in every way.
And I think that an important thing to really normalize it for everyone is also the fact that, like, I think a reason that we neglect it is because it is so complex and it's hard to maintain an emotionally and physically connected relationship over a very long time. And we also have zero guidance. We don't know how to do it. We were never told how to do it. We don't even know how to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so this is like the one, like more so than any, because it's so like personal and it's so important that I want to be like, everybody, like, this is one of, the biggest common, mistakes in relationship, but also one that's almost unavoidable.
Yeah, that's true.
And so
it's so true. And I'm just going to share, like, I hope this isn't hard to hear. It might be. And
for
that's
me or
okay.
for our
you.
listeners?
For you.
Okay.
No, it's just true.
Okay.
Like, especially, even now, our twins are 11 now, but even when they were born, I was like, I felt so right. Like, I have to do that. And we have a business. We opened up our second business for the global coaching piece, but it's like, why can't EJ be the one, like, saying, honey, date nights are a priority? Like, I can't do any, right? Like, I just was like, I just had this, like, expectation that, like, I do all of this. You can at least, like, hey, babe, we're going out on a date night tonight. And I was just like, well, if he's not doing it, I'm not going to do one more thing. I'm so done. Just because I was an overfunctioner my whole life. And I've talked about that for many reasons. I was an overfunctioner. It was like a safety thing. Like, I allowed my overfunctioning and resentment that you weren't stepping up and taking that action to, like, let that really erode our dating life, intimate life for a decade.
Yeah.
And because I don't think that's who you are. I don't think you're like a planner in that way. My heart, like, wants you to be. Like, it'd be so great if EJ's like, come on, babe, I got a babysitter, we're doing this. But that's just not you. And I've had to, like,
that's hard that, like, because, and this is what it comes down to, is we all have, like, narratives here, right? Because I have my narrative around it as well, or I have my, like, defensive-ness around that, where I'm like, yeah, like, I wasn't great on a day-to-day basis, but I think things like, it was like my idea for us to go to Spain, and that was, like, really, really wonderful. So, I think that's also, like, one of the reasons that we neglect our intimacies is we have
get in our own way.
We have narratives, and then we don't, like, know how to communicate them in clear requests. And maybe, but that's not fair to you as well, because I think there were many times where you were like, hey, if you want to have that physical connection with me, then you have to cultivate, like, date nights and stuff. And I can totally take ownership for that I could have been and could still be more of an advocate for us to have that special time.
Yeah, but what I love that I know that we're cultivating that now, but I'm saying I was in my own way because I just expected that you should do it. Like, I didn't want to have one more thing where I'm doing all of it. And I'm just like, that was the unhealthy way. Like, you have to be able to say, I really want to spend time with you. That means a lot. What could we do this week? Even if it's like an hour for a cup of coffee or going out to lunch or going out to dinner, you have to be able to take that emotional risk and say it. And even if you're like, well, I'm the one that does everything all the time in the relationship. We hear this over and over. So I'm going to let them do it first. It's you're setting up for sabotage. And I just know it because I've lived it.
Yeah. And I think there's a burnout, like, because I definitely, on your side, that there's a burnout that happens in like being sort of more the pursuer. And I think that, like, at times you felt like more the pursuer as far as us having,
I'm anxious attachment style.
Positive times is like you get to a point, I think on your side, I'm learning where you're just like, well, I'm just going to stop doing it. Mm-hmm. And then the person who's on my side, who's more, who's not as much as the pursuer, is like, what happened? That was like a big thing. Like, for me, it's like, what happened? Like, where did she go? Like, why is she not into me anymore? And I'm, I think you've seen this, like, that I've really, like, in the last probably year or so, of, like, have turned into more the pursuer, but I feel like a patient pursuer because I think I come to you more often and hug you and kiss you and
Yeah, I
tell
would
you
say
really
that's
positive
true.
things. And it's been something that I've gotten better at and
Yeah, I
I
do. I've
enjoy.
totally noticed that.
Yeah.
So just don't let yourself stand in the way of, neglecting intimacy and connection. I know you have to build that emotional safety first in order to have that feeling of wanting to be in that physically connected way. So, again, all of the things that we're talking about build emotional safety for the sake of physical connection and that quality time together.
Well, and hopefully also like you've heard us a little bit role model like that discussion around intimacy and connection, that it's wonky and
Yeah.
it's hard, but it won't, we won't recultivate that in our relationship if we don't take that risk of trying to talk about it.
Yeah. So there's the fix, right? So you talk about it, you prioritize intimacy, you come together, you say, what was important to you? What's important to me? How much time could we carve in this week? What would that look like? I'm not saying to schedule sex, but I am saying to schedule some kind
Together
of quality time together, because otherwise it won't happen. Like, I'm really good at planning my kids' weekends and all the sleepovers. I'm really bad at being like, oh, but I know like tonight we're lighting a fire.
I'm lighting a
Play
fire.
some Yahtzee, we're going to like binge watch Yellowstone season 5, episodes 11 through 14, whatever it is.
And we're going to Florida next week.
And we're going to Florida. So like, it's like that fuels us. It's like, okay. And so but we had to get really good at making sure that those times happen every week. So just make sure that you are spending time talking about how to cultivate quality time together. Again, not scheduled sex, but how can we get intimacy time, quality time in this week?
All right, I'm ready for number 5 because I love it, because I feel like this one is like the wraparound. This one is like essential for the other 4 that we went through: lack of communication, taking each other for granted, unresolved conflict, neglecting intimacy. Is number 5 is not having a mindset of we are growing together, right? A mindset and an actual like ongoing approach of like, we are becoming better people together. We are supporting each other in our growth, because all of those other things take self-reflection, take growth to happen.
Yeah. And I think, especially in the beginning of the relationship, when you have all those feel-good feelings and you feel so safe and you're so excited, like that will diminish. And I feel like people get so sad about it and they don't experience that like excitement again. And then they think that there's something wrong, but love just changes. It changes and it can get so much more profoundly deeper. But I think we get stuck on like, oh, but that joy doesn't happen in the way it used to. And it's been really stressful. And I didn't know it would be so stressful. And it shouldn't feel like hard work. But guess what? There's a reason why, divorce rate is 50%. It wouldn't be 50% if it was easy. It is really, you put in, I don't even want to say hard work. You really get to know yourself and your partner.
Put in effort.
You put in effort and intentionality. And then when you're constantly doing that, you're changing and growing individually and as a couple, and you're embracing change as a couple. That's the fix. But if you have that like grief or disappointment or stuckness that it'll never be like it used to be, that's not going to help you. It'll never go back to where it was.
But hopefully it's going to evolve. And if your relationship is going to evolve, then both of you as individuals have to evolve, right? And another dynamic we see quite often is when somebody comes in and is like, I feel like I'm growing and I'm not seeing my partner, and there's something exciting about Tarah telling me about work that she's doing on herself and how it applies to our relationship, and her seeing me take on new things in my life that like it's like, oh, like, let me catch some of your, like, some of your momentum. Like, oh, here's some of my momentum. Like, let's do this together. And it's like this, it's just this growth mindset of like, we're becoming better people together. Like, I got your back, you got my back. You're going to have difficult times. I'm going to have difficult times, but we're going to use all of that to grow ourselves as individuals and therefore grow ourselves as a couple.
I just have my visual of like, so I don't know if I've ever like shared this with our audience, but like when our kids are all done with high school and they're off to college, like I want to get a traveling Love on Wheels podcast where EJ and I are going all over the United States.
It's like a dream.
And like the number one question I want to be is like, how did you guys grow together? And what were the like, even if you're listening to this now, send us an email or comment something on our social media when this episode comes out. Like, and was it hard? Like, how did you do it? What is the impact that you have had this growth mindset versus being stagnant in the relationship? Because that's what happens. We get stuck when we don't have that growth mindset. And one of us or both of us feel trapped. Like we have this one life that we know right now. Why not, right? Try to have as much joy as we can, even during stressful times or busy lives.
And let me give a little anecdote here from an email that we just got from a listener who had been in couples counseling. It wasn't going great. They discovered our podcast. They started listening to it. Then they bought our online program, Relationship Renovation at Home, and they love the structure of it. They're doing it weekly, and they're saying like we are learning about each other like we haven't in a long time. We are having conversations that we weren't able to have. And what does that denote right there? It denotes that they're communicating, that they're not taking each other for granted anymore, that they're learning how to resolve conflict, that maybe that this will increase their intimacy. And then the bottom line, they are growing together. And sometimes we just need we need some help. We need a course. We need the right therapist or coach. Like, we can do it. We just need help. And certainly this podcast for us has helped us do it.
And I do just want to say something because my heart wants to give the gift of skill building and tolerance and building resilience to every human if I could. And we tried to make our at-home program very affordable. I think it's $300. But even if you can't afford that, just reach out to us. I want to be able to give you resources and podcast episodes that would be helpful or books that would be helpful. Please reach out. That's what we're here for.
So we love to give to you all, and we would ask something in return here. And it's, could you please give us a review? It means a lot. It gets our podcast out to more people. So on whether it's YouTube or Google or Spotify, if you'd write us a review, give us 5 stars. Tell a friend about the podcast. It helps us get the word out. It helps this community of people who are interactive with us and are telling us what they want to hear. Yeah. It makes this a more vibrant, interesting show. So we would appreciate that help from y'all.
And again, just thank you for listening, and thank you for all of the amazing feedback we do get outside of when we're doing our podcast. And as always, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.